Hey everyone, welcome to the Barely Normal Wet Shaver. That would be, oh yeah, me, Doug Bear. So what's going to be the topic today? Maybe some of you who watch me remember that I asked the question, would any of you be interested in learning about magnification and how it helps to hone a straight razor? And I got some great answers back saying, yeah, it's kind of frustrating. And it definitely was for me too. And that's why I kind of thought it would be helpful if I could share a few things that would help in understanding it and visually see it. It's interesting. It kind of all started, man, I guess it was about a year and a half ago. I was talking to Kai Triska, who, by the way, where are you, brother? We need some new stuff from you. Miss ya. But anyways, the conversation was, are you using magnification? And he said, no. He says, I wouldn't even know what to look for. I do it all primarily by feel. And that's a great way to do it. But I'm more visual, and I wanted to see what I could see under magnification. So I started looking and trying to search different videos. And although there's some great photos and there's some people who talk about what they see, it really wasn't putting it together for me. I couldn't see the basics, the simplest of things. And I thought, man, this is really interesting. As much topic or content that's out there that really hasn't been addressed. So that's what this one's going to be about. There's three real big things that I think can be helpful when using magnification. Number one, if you have a vintage razor or you have a razor that somebody else honed and now you're going to try to take on that project, did they use tape or not? Could you call and ask them? Sure, but maybe you don't have the ability to talk to that person. I.e. you buy something on eBay and they just were a reseller and they have no clue. However way you've managed to get that razor, you're not able to find that out. It's pretty easy under magnification to do that. Secondly is when you look under magnification with a certain added step, which we'll look at here in a second, you can kind of see if there's an issue with geometry. Now, there's a number of ways to determine specifically what part of the razor is causing the problem. But just to see if there is a problem, like that, you can really tell very quickly through magnification. And last, and maybe the most important, is when to know to move from one stone to the next in the progression of honing. And that's where I think the magnification is really helpful early on. So those are the three biggies. At least I think that's three. I may add one in the middle here somewhere as well. But in any case, I'm going to try to set this up and we'll go step by step. So give me a second and I'll be right back. All right, so this is what we're going to use. And we're going to assume that all we know about this razor is that it is a GD 1996. And we don't know who honed it and whether or not the geometry is okay on it. So what we can do rather quickly to determine those two things is grab one of these guys. That's right, just a good old magic marker. And what you're going to do is you're just going to go across it rather quickly and mark it with the pen like that, and do the same thing on the other side. Let me show you what that looks like so you can see that I'm not covering too much of the entire straight, but just the edge itself. So hold on one second and we'll show you that. Here you go. So this is the ink distributed evenly along the apex and edge. Okay, so now you see what the edge looks like inked. Now we're here at the stones, and in this case this is a 12K Naniwa finishing stone. And I'm going to wet it and simply do 3 passes over the stone in a back and forth motion in each direction. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and this is a very light touch, not a lot of pressure. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's all you need to do in order to indicate whether or not there are geometry issues or whether or not tape may have been used. So we'll take a look at what that looks like and talk about those two aspects in just a second. All right, so you're seeing some good news here. I did not add tape to the spine, so the fact that we see an even removal of the ink from the width of the blade, from the apex back, that tells us that we don't need to add tape. Secondly, we also see that there is an even removal along the length of the blade as well. So there's no spots where we see that there was no contact with the stone. So that's a great sign that because it is clean from heel to toe, we now have an indication that the geometry is also good. All right, so that was pretty simple and basic, just with a good old-fashioned magnifier, which is all that I really used in that case off my fly tying desk, and some ink. You can see whether or not you have issues with geometry or whether or not you need to add tape. So this next thing, I said I might add another one, and I thought about it. I said, yeah, you know, I should probably show what damage looks like, what you should be looking for as well. Now there's types of damage that can be a ding into the edge itself. But what I wanted to show was something that is more corrosion based. And when you see something like what I'm about to show, that lets you know that you probably need to go down to the lower grit stones to remove this. So using the magnifier, when you see something like this, you'll work over the stones until it's removed. But let me show you what that corrosion looks like real quick. All right, so here you're seeing corrosion, and this is going to take some work with the lower grit stones to remove from the edge and apex. As you're proceeding, you'll have to use the loop again to make sure of your progress, but it isn't generally hard to remove something like this. All right, so there you go. That's corrosion. But whether or not it's corrosion or it's some other type of imperfection like a ding, the magnification identified it. And as you proceed with the lower grit stones to remove it, you can keep checking until you have removed it, simply. So that's it. And that's a really powerful reason for using magnification. Another thing, and the last thing that we'll cover, is how to identify scratch patterns and when to progress to the next stone. So here we go. All right, so here's a picture that I took off an online site which identified it as a scratch pattern from a 1K stone. So when you're working on bevel setting or using a 1K stone and you see that type of consistency across the entire edge from toe to heel, you know that you're ready to move on to the next higher grit stone. If you're unsure though, don't worry about it. Do a couple more laps and see if you see a change. If not, you're ready to move on to the higher grit. Here's an image of a 4K scratch pattern. And what you're really seeing here is just a reduction of the depth of scratches, as well as a little bit more polish to its look. So again, if you're not sure if you've got it consistently, continue to go over the edge until you're sure, and then you're ready to move to the next one. Now on this 8K, you really can see a little bit more polish. I find that the 8K is one of the easier stones to really be able to see and identify, but keep on working till you get that look. Before I put everyone to sleep with these pictures, this is the last one. This is a 12K synthetic, and again, you can identify the fact that it has yet again reduced the scratches. And when you see that consistency, no matter how many laps you do, you know you've accomplished what the 12K can accomplish. All right, everyone. So that's it. Listen, I don't want to come across like I'm some kind of expert. I'm really not. I've only been doing this for a little over a year, but I've tried to work hard with some things that have helped me. And I'm sure there are others out there that are way more knowledgeable that could probably say I may have missed a few things or that I am off track on some things, and that could very well be. But I like to share what works for me, and hopefully it helps others, because I know this was a frustrating process to really keep doing it, keep looking, making some assumptions, and just trying to figure it out kind of the hard way. And it just was interesting to me that with all the information that's out there, no one had broken it down quite like I tried to do in this case. So hopefully it works in some way for those of you who want to hone. It gives you some insights, and if it does, or if it doesn't, let me know. I'd love to hear what you learn or what I was able to bring for you in the form of improved honing. So anyways, till the next time, peace out.